Hey there, emerging expat. You're tuned in to Let's Move to Portugal. I'm Victoria from Expats Everywhere's podcast, and I have the distinct honor of bringing you, YouTube travelers, and our resident of Portugal experts, Expats Everywhere's Josh and Kaylee. Each week they'll inspire, they'll educate, and they'll accompany you on your journey to Portuguese residency. This week on Let's Move to Portugal, tune in as a Portuguese lawyer provides a 2025 update on Portugal's immigration, covering visa backlogs, policy changes, travel risks, legal options, and more.
Hey, expats and travelers alike, welcome back to Expats Everywhere Presents Let's Move to Portugal podcast. It's a season 4, episode 9. Kaylee, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing really well. I'm excited about this one because we have a lot of things to update you, the listener, on before we shift into the talk with Diogo about immigration stuff that's happening in Portugal, getting you the most updated information. Last video that we did on this topic blew up. There were so many people that were interested in the topic. And I think that, we took that framework and tackled it again, but just hearing the updated info.
Yeah, because we had Diogo on last year, 2024, and there were changes through, CEF to AIMA, and what's AIMA doing and what are their goals? What's the government doing to help? Well, now we're in 2025, and it's like, what did they achieve those goals?
What are the new goals?
What are the new goals, or the what's being pushed, I guess you could say. So lots of updates on AIMA, but we can get to that in a minute if we want to do a quick little update on Expats Everywhere right now.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. And just to let you know, if you're not interested in our lives, you can skip ahead and just get straight to Diogo and Kaylee's interview or presentation, really. I don't know if it was necessarily an interview.
It's not an interview. It's a conversation. I mean, obviously, I'm asking all these top questions that I know that you as a listener have, because I get emails and consultations and everything. So I know what to ask. And so it's like, let's get this information out to everyone so you can know what to expect in 2025. But again, we went back to the Diogo thing. What's going on in Expats Everywhere?
Okay. So we have had several people write us, actually many people write us kind of over a period of time where we have not talked about our real estate projects here in Portugal. So I do want to give people an update on what's going on with that. If this is your first time hearing about this, I'm going to try to get you caught up real fast. So years ago, when we first moved, we saw some issues with the housing here in Portugal, especially in Porto, and how could we mitigate some of these things? So that took us down the road of let's buy our own property and get behind the walls and do the electrical and plumbing and just make sure it's all good and it's up to date with all the recent, all the newest technology and everything. And then that led us to a building search where we wanted to have a collective of a community of people that were investing in the same building and that we could, kind of build it together. And then that led us to finding a building. And we started a new channel called Let's Get Building with Josh and Kaylee. And we were a couple episodes in, and then we had to take the channel down.
Yeah. Why was that, Josh?
Well, without getting into too much of that detail and talking about the legal stuff, there was an investigation of sorts that was happening, and we didn't want to have kind of everything out there in the open to potentially be attacked. So what we did was we took that channel down just while we were going through some different licensing, and it appears as if we're now clear and we can move forward.
Yay!
And get the channel launched again. Not launched again, but
back up. It's just private right now. We didn't get rid of it. We just had to hide it, I guess. So that's why a lot of you can't find it, because it doesn't exist in the public right now. So it's called Let's Get Building with Josh and Kaylee if you haven't been on there.
Yeah, and many people were worried, did something happen to the project? And so no, nothing happened actually to the project. The building had been continuing to go. I had continued to film, but we just couldn't share that information with you until we finalized this legal bit. Now, we haven't finalized it yet. Hopefully it'll happen this week. We have Carnival this week.
Yes, so Carnival is a fun one.
Some companies are closed on Monday and Tuesday of this week. And then hopefully, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week, we'll have people working at CMP, and then we'll get that process finished.
Back into it.
Yeah.
But quick side note, Carnival, we are hitting, I guess once we get to the spring, you get a lot more of the festivals. The winter, there's still some festivals that happen around Portugal, but once you hit spring, they really, this is an actual
spring
holiday.
Through summer,
but spring through summer, all the holidays and festivals and stuff get going, and the weather's been really good. So it's exciting. Carnival is this week, so that's a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing all the kids dressed up, getting to dress our daughter up as well.
She loves it.
Absolutely loves it. I mean, most days anyways, when she gets dressed, she wants to go out in a costume.
Josh is like, are we doing this? I'm like, yeah, sure. And we see other kids also dressed up. But now it's all the kids are dressed up. So
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Let's Get Building with Josh and Kaylee and the first project that we're doing. And then we have entered a second project, which super excited about that. That project is on Rua da Alegria in Porto. And we were able to establish pricing for the apartments. And I've started to send out an email to the potential buyers list with some good feedback on that. And yeah, I mean, if you're interested in learning more about that project, you can email me at contact@expatseverywhere.com and I can get you that. But we only have a few units that we're going to sell right now.
Yep. So yeah. Josh was crazy enough to do a second project.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. It's going well. Yeah.
It is.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the real estate side of things. We just put out a video with Sam about the golden visa, which is a good option. One of the many options that you have moving to Portugal. You've got the golden visa, the D7, the D8, the D2, D6 if there's family ancestry. There's a lot of options, but the golden visa it's still alive and ticking in Portugal, although some people think it's not. It is. Just looks a little different right now. So if you're interested in information from that was our latest video. Yeah. And of course, you can email me at info@expatseverywhere.com and I can put you in touch with Sam if you want to get more info from him.
Well, it was a video that we shot actually during that period of time that Kaylee was sick.
Yeah.
So, on the morning, like I had to wake up, set everything up, film it on my own.
Yeah, normally it was supposed to be me in the video.
Yeah.
But you did a great job.
I did a decent job. I think
Sam is super knowledgeable, so he led that.
He carried it, of course. But I think the thing is that frustrated me is one of the camera angles was blurry, and it's because you can't monitor it while you're also doing the interview. Like even if I had flipped around the screen,
yeah.
At that distance, you can't see what's in focus anyways. Okay, so that's kind of what's been happening in our world. And let's talk a bit about what's going to happen in the interview.
Yes, it's a good one. Like I was saying before, it's an update. We're in 2025 now. What's going on with AIMA? What's going on with visa processing? How long are things taking? What can you do if you can't get your initial AIMA appointment or your renewal? So it's just a big update on what's going on. The visa extensions that are happening. So, I mean, those are just a few of the topics. So we might as well just jump right into it so that everyone can hear from Diogo on what's going on. But I ask a lot of questions, important questions to know.
Yeah. And there were people in the comment section of the Golden Visa video that basically brought up some of these points, that there were bureaucratic issues and bottlenecks in the process.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the negative things about Portugal. But you guys kind of clear some of that stuff up or at least
talk about it.
Get you informed on what's actually happening. So I think that's the important bit.
Yeah. Informed and just what you can do as well.
Right. So you can take action.
Yes.
If you're ready to take action, you can take action knowing the advice that they give. So let's get to it.
Let's go.
All right. But before we do that, let's talk about this week's sponsor, Green Ocean Global Advisors.
Yes, we always recommend, no matter where you are in the moving process, to get your finances in order. So that's in your home country and then the country that you're moving to.
And speaking about homes, what if you sell your house before leaving or do it after? What are the capital gains implications like? Well, a financial advisor will be able to walk you through this type of thing.
And what about distributions? Maybe you have a 401k or a pension and you need to figure out how much you should be drawing from for the lifestyle that you're going to have.
Now, you can use this link in the description section below to talk to John from Green Ocean Global Advisors to see if he's a fit for you. You'll have a free 15-minute consultation just for being an Expats Everywhere listener. So you can use that to get your free 15 minutes. Click the link in the description section below. Now, on to the show.
Diogo, we have so much to unpack today because it's now 2025 and we had you on last year for 2024 to give us an update on what's going on with AIMA and the government and visas, and it's just this ongoing saga. So let's take a look at what's new, what's going on with AIMA, how the government is making changes, and all the different questions that circulate getting a visa here. So thank you for joining me on this as the expert.
And I thank you for the invite.
Okay, so let's start off with the talk about backlog. When Seth handed stuff over to AIMA, there's been this big backlog, and it still exists? Is there a backlog, or how are they working through that?
Yes, there is, unfortunately. Actually, since AIMA was started its activities in October 29, 2023, actually they have received lots of pendencies from the last immigration agency. We are talking about more or less 450,000 processes pending. Yes. And since its creation, they have been trying to solve all of these dependencies, and their main goal is to solve all of them until June 2025. So are very close to that date. However, a couple of days before this our conversation here, the president of AIMA have said that until now, from all these dependencies, they have just solved basically 10,000 of all these dependencies. We think that not all of these 450 might be processes that are going to the end, because some of them might be or people might gave up throughout this time because they are waiting for such a long period. Probably they gave up, some of them. But as you can see, they have not been so effective on
not as fast as they thought
problem.
They would be.
Right. We think there are some good signs coming from AIMA related with trying to solve dependencies like hiring more people, getting more stores available for people to get their appointments. But it's very likely that the backlog will remain after this timeline that they have announced. And it's very likely that in June 2025, they might revise this timeline for a future date.
Can you explain, because there's been this extension of visas, because I think a lot of people have been worried that they get their initial approval and then they can't get their AIMA appointment, or that's taking a long time, and then they pass their 4 months and they're like, oh no, am I living here illegally? But the government has put stuff in place to say that you're not. Can you explain that? And then it's supposed to go through June, so tell us if you think they're going to extend that, but explain how that works.
Sure. I don't know why, but everything that AIMA says goes to June 2025. Basically, what happens is that the Portuguese government at the time of the COVID and all, and people going to their own houses, and they tried to solve a huge problem was to have appointments for people that were having their documents expired. And the way they did this was by announcing that all the documents, even if they have expired on paper, were considered as being valid. And they have been able to postpone all of these dates and extend these dates. And now all the documents that have been expired can be used as valid until the end of June 2025. But we think that it's very likely that they will have the same reaction. The government will have the same reaction as they did before. And normally they extend this date in March. So we are very close to the extension date. And it's very likely that they will do exactly the same as they did in the past. So they will be extending this for an additional year. So even if someone has a residence card or some kind of, or even their passport or a birth certificate that has expired, they can use that until the end of the year. So if they extend, right now they can use it until the end of June.
Okay. But obviously we're thinking, because of the backlog still existing, that they will most likely extend it. But we'll know more soon.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. That's
Now,
my thoughts as well.
okay. And now I think the tricky thing though is if someone wants to travel, like if they want to leave Portugal. So Portugal has this extension, but is it risky to leave Portugal with these expired documents?
Yes, it is. What we are advising clients to do is to avoid all the traveling within the Schengen area. All the countries in the Schengen area do not align with this rule because it's a very specific rule that is only in force in Portugal. And so what we can say to our clients is that if they want to travel back to their own countries, and if their own countries are outside the Schengen area, of course, they can travel and do direct flights, or if they go and do connection flights, they might use another country outside the Schengen area to do that. Because if they go, for example, to Spain or to France, their presence will be considered as illegal. And so they will be facing some fines and problems. And it's very likely that they will ask that person to leave the country immediately. So in my perspective, what we have done to the clients that actually need to travel outside and go to their own countries is to use some kind of a statement coming from us, from our firm, explaining the reasons of the traveling and the reasons why the residence cards are not valid yet. So we explain that, and that has been used. Of course, this is not a travel document, okay? It does not. It's not its purpose, but it's more. It's designed for explaining to the authorities the reasons behind all of this, and explaining that the person is complying with the Portuguese governmental rules.
Okay, that makes sense. So unless you really, really have to go back to your home country, it's time to just explore and travel around Portugal, right? Stay in Portugal until you get things sorted there. Okay.
Yes.
Well, what are some government changes that have happened here at the beginning of 2025, or what are some things that the government is actually doing to expedite and make this process faster and easier for people?
What I think the most relevant change on the visa process was related probably with the golden visa. Okay, what we saw right now is or what we saw until now is that AIMA is trying to reduce the stages on the golden visa process so that it can be more it can be done online and not so much in person, and so trying to reduce the burden on the AIMA workers and people that are analyzing all the documents related with the investments and the immigration process. As well as we have received some news coming from the government saying that they are actually planning to reinforce the consular network of Portugal until the end of the year, but it's very likely that 50 more workers are starting to work after the 3rd of March. And so it's good to know this. We know that some consulates all over the world have a lack of human resources, and this is a good way to speed up the visa analysis.
Okay, so more people working at the consulates, which will help with the initial approval of the visas, but not necessarily helping with the in-person AIMA appointment that you have to finalize your visa.
No, for
right?
that, for AIMA, they are actually trying to reinforce also the number of workers there. Actually, today AIMA has more or less 670 workers, and they are trying to hire more people, and they have announced 450 workers more until the end of the year. And also at the same time, it's very likely that they will bring up some more counters to get more appointments as well. So until the end of the year, we expect this to happen. More people involved and more counters to have more appointments.
Okay, good. And we were talking, you mentioned renewals and things online. So for those who have already gotten their visa and they're after their 2 years and they're looking to renew, how easy is it to get an appointment to renew? And are they going to completely renewing online, or do you still have to go in person for that?
So actually, that might be one of the worst news I received this year coming from AIMA. They are now, they don't accept anymore any automatic renewals for the cards or the residence cards that have been expired, or that have expired after July 2024. So this is very bad news because, as you know, for you to get an appointment with AIMA, you need to call their phone. And according to the president of AIMA, they are receiving basically millions of calls every year and emails. And so it's very difficult to get through all of these calls and get an appointment. Basically, what happens is that they are getting back to the previous procedure, which was not automatic, and so it is needed, right, for people that want to renew their residence cards. They will need to go in person and bring the documents and collect the biometrics if needed, and pay the fee, all of this in person, and not so much as it was done very recently and automatically, which was speeding up all these renewal processes.
Right. Now, why do you think they've done away with the automatic renewal or the online renewal? Because it could speed it up. Why do you think they aren't doing that anymore?
I'm not sure, but the main reason probably is related with some assurance coming from them on the fact that they are seeing the person and they know that the person is still living in Portugal. And because automatic renewals were done even without any documentation, so people were just paying the governmental fee, and they were receiving their renewed residence cards in their address in Portugal, and no documentation was needed. And what I think is that they want to be completely aware of the current situation for that specific person, and the best way to do that is by having that person in the counter in front of them, asking their questions if needed, and delivering the documents for the renewal process. That's the only reason I can see.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, it's tricky, because you have this backlog and people waiting, so it would be easier. But then it does make sense that they want to verify that people are actually living here and the documents are the same and they can see the person for themselves. So I get that. So then what should someone do if they can't get this AIMA appointment, whether it's at the front end of their visa, the initial part, or a renewal? What do they do if they call and no one answers?
So that's a great question. It's the only way they have to try to speed up these processes right now is by suing AIMA. So there's a specific kind of process, subpoena, that they can submit in order to obtain better results and faster results. So the court will be the one handling with AIMA directly and asking AIMA to grant an appointment sooner. This has been we have been successful on doing this for our clients that ask our help to do these kind of processes. And basically, it's the only way right now, unless someone has an urgency reason that needs to be documented and very well documented, basically, to ask for an urgency in that specific appointment. But since it's very difficult to get this urgency, then the only way to speed up the process is by going to court and ask the court to speed up directly with AIMA.
But you're finding that when people sue, it speeds it up a lot, like it's successful, it goes a lot faster.
Yes, because from our experience, AIMA does not want to deal with all these subpoenas and the processes with the court. They don't have enough people in their own houses to actually deal with the volume of these processes. We are talking about more or less 55,000 subpoenas that were already submitted. And so the way they have to handle all of this is by putting those applications into a priority line, basically. And by doing that, they can guarantee a faster result for the application. And even if they don't, the court has been deciding in favor of the applicants, and they are asking AIMA to actually grant the residence cards or get an appointment as soon as possible, because people are waiting for more than they should according to the law.
Okay. You mentioned urgent or emergency scenarios like for getting your visa faster. What are some of those scenarios?
I've never had one client that were successful on doing this. It's just for you to have an idea. I remember a client that actually were very, in my perspective, this was urgent. He needed to go to his country because his mother has died, and he wanted to go because of that and deal with all the bureaucracy involved with the death of his mother. And AIMA didn't accept this as a good justification. Just for you to have in mind that it's very hard to get this kind of documented urgencies. So I cannot tell you one specific reason, okay? But they might be related with some health problems or things like that, but not so much with family reasons, as you can imagine.
Okay, so maybe some health reasons could expedite it, but not necessarily if you have to leave. But it's hard. It's hard to get this type of
very hard
push through, I guess. Yeah,
it is.
Okay,
it is very hard.
Well, we've talked about the backlog. So what are times looking like? So if someone is going to have their initial application and they go to VFS or a consulate and they apply, what are the current, more or less waiting times to get approval or denial, I guess? And then how long is it taking to get that in-person AIMA appointment? What does the time frame look like?
That will depend. The backlog is not so much related with the normal structure of the immigration process. So if someone goes to the VFS or the consulate to get a visa and applies for a visa, it should get the visa within 30 or 60 days, depending on the type of visa they are applying, okay? But there are some specific cases in some consulates this is not possible. For example, in Brazil, there are consulates that are taking 200 days, more or less, or more, to actually guarantee a visa. But according to the law, they should have granted the visa, or they should grant the visa within 30 or 60 days. That's normally what happens, okay, in the majority of the countries. After they get the visa, they can travel to Portugal, And if the consulate has guaranteed an appointment date for that person, normally the process after the visa was granted might be finished, and the client might have the residence card within 6 months. Okay, so it's the time for them to actually get the appointment and receive the residence card in their address. But if they don't, if the consulate does not guarantee any appointment date, then we have a big problem here, because, as I told, there's no available dates for appointments, and people might be waiting for an unpredictable time. So it's in this case scenario, I cannot tell you right now how much time would take for them to get the residence card, because we have some situations where they were lucky, they secured people secured an appointment within a couple of weeks, but others are taking years to get to get their appointment. So it's very unpredictable.
Okay. Yeah. It just varies. So it kind of depends. So if you don't get that AIMA appointment when you get your initial approval, should you come here and try at least for a few weeks to make phone calls, or do you just suggest as soon as you get here to hire a lawyer to assist with getting that AIMA appointment?
No, if they are already with the lawyer should make these kind of appointments. It basically, I think it's part of all lawyers' services. In our case, we don't ask the client to do the calls unless they want as well. So we work in parallel as a team, but we are trying to secure this appointment for the clients. But when the timeline, which is normally 90 days after they have received the visa, if there's no appointment coming from AIMA, then we suggest the clients to go to court. It's not so attractive for the majority of them. They don't want to start their relationship with the Portuguese administration with subpoena. However, we tell them that this has no negative consequences for their lives nor for their immigration process. So they need to be completely relaxed on this and understand that Portugal is under the rule of law, and the way you have to actually guarantee your rights and protect your rights is by going to court. So you are doing what it's normal to do in a normal democratic regime. So it's very normal, and they don't need to be afraid of any negative consequences.
Okay, that's good to know, that it doesn't affect whether they get denied or approved any sort of immigration aspect, because that could make people a little nervous, right? Yeah, you're starting off like having to go through this and you don't want it to look bad, but that's not really how it's perceived.
Exactly.
Okay, good. So then after, let's go with even like the first residency card you're issued, and after you do your renewal in person, about how long is it taking to have that appointment and then have like the residency card delivered from CTT in hand? How long is that taking now?
According to the law, it can go from our experience, it can go from 1 month until 3 months. Okay, so only after the 90 days period we can actually go to AIMA and ask for information about the issuance of the residence card. There are situations where the residence card was already issued. It was sent to the address of the client, and someone didn't pick it up, the card, and the card was sent back to AIMA, and it's there in their facilities. But there are other situations where the card was not yet issued, and in that case we can discuss with the client the possibility to go to court once again and ask the court to push AIMA to grant the residence card to the client.
Now, what should someone do if AIMA says that they issued the card, but they never received it?
Yes, so that's a big problem, because the only way you have to get a new card is by asking for another one. So you'll need to get a new appointment for you to go and ask for a new residence card. It's the same as if you were stolen. If your wallet was stolen, you'll need to get an appointment and ask AIMA to grant you a new residence card. So that's the only way they have to get it after after AIMA announces that they already have sent the residence card to the address.
Do you need a police report for that?
If it was stolen, yes, it is necessary.
Okay.
If you just didn't get the card for some reason, then there's no document to prove that. So it is what it is. You just go there and ask for another document, another residence card, and you pay a fee for them to issue the new one.
Okay. Are there any other big changes that the government has been making in regards to visas and immigration that you've seen happen so far in 2025?
So far in 2025. Actually, not sure. Let me think. No, we have covered the golden visa. This was the major difference. They also have made some changes related with the CPLP residence cards. People that were given like a certificate coming from AIMA. They are now getting residence cards instead, but there's not so much differences in terms of or amendments in the law in terms of how the processes are being dealt right now.
Okay. I think last we talked, you had mentioned that they were trying to prioritize golden visas and the family reunification because they were backlogged there. Are they still prioritizing those, or have they caught up a little bit, or what's the priority here?
I think since AIMA was created, they have made the only big change that I've noticed was related with professional athletes. And this was a change made in July last year. They have prioritized the issuance of residence cards to those particular professionals, but they have been announcing since the beginning that they want to prioritize family reunification processes for those that are living in Portugal, waiting for their appointments to happen. And they actually announced even an online portal specifically designed for these processes. Until now, we didn't see any change at all. And even if you try to book an appointment for those family members waiting, it's not possible. And so they say they are going to prioritize, but we have no results yet to show. In terms of how fast and the fastest ways to get to Portugal, they are still the same. Normally, the timelines for someone that is considered as a highly qualified professional are a little bit better than for all others, because the Portuguese government is still trying to attract these kind of professionals to Portugal. So the timelines should be reduced in these particular cases. And besides this, we have, in our experience, we noticed that D7 visas and D8 visas are being granted fast as well. So those
good.
are the ones taking less time.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because I think that those are two very desirable visas, the D7 and the D8. So that's good to know that they're trying to go a little faster on those.
Yeah.
Now, what about if you have like a scenario where there's a couple and one person has a Portuguese passport, but the spouse does not? They don't hold any Schengen passport. Is the plan for them to just come to Portugal and then try to get an AIMA appointment to do the family reunification? They don't have to do anything prior, any visa stuff prior? Okay.
That's it. They only need to bring some documents for the process, for the application, namely the marriage certificate. Since they are a couple, they need to bring the marriage certificate for the country where they actually got married. And since one of them is Portuguese, they will be required to make the registration of their marriage in Portugal before the application for the spouse. Okay, so with AIMA. And the way to guarantee that appointment is by the phone, having an appointment once again, and wait. Actually, this year in January, we saw that AIMA was focusing on, and now that we are talking about this, I now remember that in January we received lots of available dates and appointments for people that were in that exactly situation. They were waiting for their appointments because they are family members of some EU citizen, and we received lots of appointments in January. So probably they were focusing on them at that time. Now things are pretty normal, standard, and but there's no available dates if you go and try to secure an appointment by the phone.
Okay. So if someone moves here and they can't get an appointment, do they need to wait 90 days of being in the country before then they can sue? Or how long should they wait if they can't get that appointment for the spouse?
I advise them to do that because there's a specific rule in the law that states that people should have a decision from AIMA after 90 days. So until then, you shouldn't expect the decision to happen, so you have no grounds to go to the court. So the only way you have to go to the court is by waiting for those 90 days to pass. And after that, yes, you have all the right to discuss this on the court.
Okay, but you wouldn't be here illegally because of this visa extension that's happened. So if you wait 90 days, like an American, for example, only has 90 days in the Schengen, but if they're here past that 90 days, they still don't have that appointment, they can then sue to get the appointment to show that that's what they're doing. And because of this visa extension, they're not technically here illegally, right?
Sure, and they can prove that they are waiting for the appointment to happen, and the authorities know this. They know that there's no available dates, and so people are waiting for the appointments to happen. And one good way to prove that is by using, for example, some email asking for an appointment, something like that.
Okay, but you would still advise to not leave Portugal while you're in this process?
Yes, I do. Despite the fact that there are rules in Europe for all the European countries to protect family members of EU citizens. So basically that they cannot be separated, and this is a protection that is granted throughout all the countries of Europe. Even though it's quite risky because there are some fines and penalties that might be applicable if you are in a different country or for a period that is not supposed, and so that might be a problem. Yeah.
Okay. Now, are there any other scenarios or information that you're seeing from clients that would be beneficial for our listener to know? Any details of things through this process that's important to know?
As far as I can remember, I don't think so. No, I'm
Okay.
not aware of any changes that might be interesting to share, basically.
Okay. So it's kind of been about the same the last year or so. Some, obviously trying to work through the backlog and trying to get better, but nothing super crazy or different that's happened in the past year.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what about as we go further into 2025? Do you have any predictions on how things will go with AIMA? Are things going to get better? Are they going to stay the same? Are they going to get through this backlog? What do you think?
I like I said before, they are announcing some changes. They are announcing that they are going to bring more people, or they are hiring more employees. They are having more delegations created so they can have more available dates for appointments. Actually, at the beginning of this year, a group of more or less 40 lawyers or 40 law firms in which I was included. We were invited by AIMA to a meeting where they explain what were their plans for the golden visa. And they are trying to speed up the process and try to make it more less bureaucratic. And so what I think is happening right now is that immigration is in the center of the political debate. And it's in the center of our minds and our society. And we know that for sure the government will be very focused on dealing with the problems. So it's predictable that in 2025 we will see the reduction of the backlog. But we also are seeing that there's a huge demand of new applications. So you can have an idea. There's on average 5,000 applications per day going to AIMA every single day. So they are dealing with the fact that they have 450,000 processes pending, plus the ones getting every single day into their desks. So it's very difficult to handle all of this while they are restructuring and bringing more people that, of course, will need to have training. They need to have their learning curve. It's the normal one, so they will not be able to start working right away. They will need to adapt on the new procedures. Saying that I think that only by the end of the year we will actually have a good sense of what all of these changes will bring, and less bureaucracy would be great, because I think one of the major problems we face with AIMA is the bureaucracy, and if they go more and try to make it more informal, all the process, maybe this would bring better results in the near future.
Okay. But it's encouraging because it sounds like they're trying, right? They're trying to be proactive about things and hiring workers and getting through the backlog. It's just a lot to go through.
Sure. There's a huge plan that they have announced last year, if you remember, the migration plan. And there's very good ideas there. But in order to implement all of them, you need to have time and you need to have the human resources to do that. So it's not an easy plan, let me tell you. But basically, they are working against the clock right now, because people, of course, they need to have their lives solved, and their situations also are very important, and they need this to be done fast. and the way they have deal with this until now is that bringing more people to AIMA, creating more delegations, and trying to secure more appointments. That's the main focus, according to the government. This would be the priority.
Okay. And then in the near future, we should know very soon if they're going to have that extension from the June 2025 for visas, if it's going to go through the end of the year. We should know that pretty soon.
Yes, pretty soon.
Yeah.
We should get some news on this. And as I told, I think it will be happening and it will be extended for an additional period of 1 year. So it's very likely that all the documents should be considered as valid until the end of June 2026.
Okay. Good news. Well, listener, if you would like to be put in touch with Diogo and his firm, then you can email me at info@expatseverywhere.com and I will make an introduction. Diogo, thank you so much for giving us an update on what's happening with AIMA and immigration in 2025 here.
Thank you for having me here, and talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye. Take care.